Life can be messy, but you don't have to figure it out alone.
Hey, it's the Luskos.
Join pastors and best-selling authors Levi and Jenny Lusko on Hey, It's the Luskos for honest conversations about faith, marriage, family, grief, ministry, and all the unexpected moments in between. You'll laugh, you'll be encouraged, and you'll be reminded that God is faithful through every season.
It will always come back to Jesus in the end.
That's right. Tune in to Hey, It's the Luskos with Levi and Jenny Lusko. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.
One of these men is a highly respected New York attorney, Lucas A. Ferrara. The other is a self-proclaimed man of the people, known as Mert Roberts. Their aim is to discuss the hottest issues impacting our city, state, and nation. Fasten your seatbelts. Shake it off with Mert and Lucas. Live starts now on AM 970. The Answer.
That's a weird one, Alex. What's the name of that tune?
All right, this is The Comedy Circus Clown by Alex Bess.
Comedy Circus Clown. Now I get it. This next story is so ridiculous, it almost feels circusy, like it was scripted by a late-night comedy writer who got a fetish with government contracts. Now, I'm talking about that whole fiasco involving the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool. You know, it's that long body of water that sits in front of the Lincoln Memorial down in Washington, D.C., the one that shows up in all the tourist photos, every political ad, every movie where someone has a deep thought while looking at America. Well, that pool is now at the center of the most petty political circus of the summer. And we're going to walk you through that, every little embarrassing detail, because this one deserves the full treatment. Now, let's start with the official story, Mert. Now, according to Trump, the reflecting pool was beautifully renovated. Fresh paint, America flag blue, ready for the big American 250th celebration. And then, vandals struck. Yes, scandal. Not just any vandal, Mert. Sophisticated vandals. People who somehow got past the cameras, the park police, the National Guard presence, and they sliced a 250-foot gash into the bottom of the pool. Then the number grew. That's right, then the number grew. 300 feet, then 350 feet, possibly with chemicals, in the dark of night. The Justice Department eventually charged a man, Mert, a former Olympian named David Hearn. Felony charge, up to 10 years. They said he did it. And for a hot minute, it looked like we were going to have a real crime story on our hands. But guess what? Something unexpected happened. The U.S. Attorney, Jeanine Pirro, filed a motion to dismiss the charges. Why? Because the damage, they now say, was not caused by vandals. It was caused by a rush, botched installation by the contractor. What is going on? And you still, by the way, Mert, have Trump to this very day pointing to vandals, while Jeanine Pirro is saying, no, it was a bad contracting job. What is going on with the flip-flopping here?
I said this last week. I feel sorry for the way that this, I believe he was an Olympic athlete or something like that, was singled out and bullied for the failure of whoever in the administration told Trump, we need to do something with this monument. We need to redo it. We need to start tearing stuff up. We need to clean it up. We need to make this look like Saudi Arabia or something like that. You know, they want to put gold and stuff all over the place. So I think they failed because, from what I hear, they allowed some individuals with companies to not have to compete to get these contracts. So instead of getting the best person to do the job, you did a favor. You did a favor for someone, and now you have a fiasco. And instead of admitting a mistake, you tried to put the blame off on some poor, this was a great athlete. He did a lot of stuff in his sport or whatever. Not sure what it was, but I followed it, a little bit, so I know what I'm talking about here. And you try to put it off on this guy. And the thing is, the method that you try to attempt to do this, you as an attorney understand you are not supposed to charge somebody before you know what they've actually done, before you have evidence. It makes no sense the way they've done it. I might have said that incorrectly, but what I'm trying to say is this was a shot in the dark. This was a wishful charge they brought upon this individual.
Yeah.
They didn't have the information. They just threw something at the wall and hoped that it would stick. And because the MAGA community is a community that has almost a cultish-like allegiance to whatever the president says, I'm not blaming the president for that, but his message just appealed in such a fashion where that's the case.
Well, Janine Perot is not kowtowing. I mean, she said she dismissed the charges. She's not continuing with the criminal charges. I think the bigger question here is, what is the reluctance to find the truth? In other words, what would have been the shame to say, okay, the contractor made a mistake, let's just fix it? None. Contractors make mistakes all the time. I don't understand why we can't step up and accept the responsibility for errors as opposed to looking for scapegoats. It's this finding scapegoats that I have a problem with. And I think you have a problem with that too, right, Mert?
Yeah, that was a part of my point is...
Right.
The scapegoat is because you can't admit the people that you went with who didn't have to compete for these contracts weren't the best people. And
yeah, but you make a mistake. Bad. You know what? I trusted you, Mert. I hired you. I thought you were good.
You could trust Mert.
I made a mistake. Okay? So now you move on, right? You don't say, let's arrest Alex because I hired you.
Well, there's a chance.
Do you know what I mean?
That could actually happen, but
that's right. That's what that is. That's why you better stay on guard, Alex.
There's a chance that, and I've heard this being spoken about, that the reason that they're going this direction is because they don't want to have to do an investigation onto how these contracts were offered. Because what I'm saying, it's possible what I'm saying is being alluded to. It might not be a fact, or they might have worked around.
Well, if they cheated, there will be ramifications, right?
And I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to prevent an investigation into that. So what do you do?
But that's a totally separate issue. If the contract was awarded improperly or illegally, there'll probably be an investigation. But what we're talking about now is something a little bit deeper. I don't understand.
Why does Trump not want to look bad? Is what you're trying to ask?
That's the question. What is the problem? Why do we always have to pinpoint blame on something evil or disastrous as opposed to something simple, like we made a mistake and we're ready to move on, let's fix it? Wouldn't that have just been simpler, Alex?
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but I feel like I can. Trump's had a lot of history with contractors, good and bad. So, This is just another chapter in his dealings with contractors on a national tax-paying level. That's the issue here.
And I think that, you know what, Mert, I think you touched on it. This flip-flopping by Trump, that's not strength. That is weakness. And that's the problem I have. And here's another thing that bothers me. As someone who spent a career as a lawyer, when the government is the client, it looks like the rules of accountability go out the window. I mean, private developers get sued all the time for nonsense like this. If you were to make a mistake with a condo or go up, you're in the Supreme Court 5 minutes after you make the error, and people are suing you up the yin-yang. But this just doesn't make sense. Why Trump was willing to scapegoat a poor guy when the evidence seems to be it was a contract.
And then scapegoat Janine Pirro, a well-established judge. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. This one bothers me, and I'm trying to reconcile it, Mert. And you're quiet, so it seems to stump you too. She's a Trump loyalist, by the way. she worked at Fox News. She's now the U.S. Attorney in D.C. because Trump picked her.
Let me say this. Janine Pirro was a loyalist. She wasn't an independent thinker when it came to Trump. She parroted everything that he said. She was on Fox still had her job, was talking about all these things that we criticized Trump for. She was on board with a lot of that stuff, so that's why she got the position, because she was one of his loudest supporters. So when she went a few months back and said that they're going to get a conviction and this dude is going to go down, she did so without having all the facts in front of her. So she had this strong faith in whatever Trump was saying, probably going against her nature as a judge and as a prosecutor or whatever she did back in the day. And everybody around Trump knows this. He doesn't like to be seen as weak. He doesn't like to be seen as a loser. So when you have these individuals around Trump who can point this out, they're going to steer him in directions where he doesn't have to take the blame. So he doesn't have to take the blame. You can sue somebody. But in this case, we went high as you can go with this lawsuit.
Yeah, but it impacts his credibility. I think.
And to answer your question, Lucas, I think we're also talking about corruption here, right? Let's say they dig deeper into the files. Right. What if there was some pay-to-play to do this contract work on the pool? There could be that, too.
Well, hold on a second.
If there was something unseemly, now you're projecting, Alex. Don't pull a Mert, because now you're changing the whole facts. If there was some pay-to-play, there'll be ramifications for that. But that's a different issue. Yeah, what, Mert?
But you see, Alex is starting to learn that Mert isn't just talking, because Alex just disagreed with me. And then he just realized, Mert must be right, because Mert was just bringing up the fact that they don't want to do an investigation into the pay-for-play thing. So that's why.
But you're alleging that deflect. There's no. But come on, Mert. See, this is where you take something.
No. You have to listen.
There is no pay-to-play allegations here. You are totally making that up.
You have to understand what you're asking me, because you're not
listening asking
to what
you
I'm saying.
You made that up.
No, you asked me, why would Trump not just admit defeat? Why is he trying to posture himself like he didn't do anything wrong?
Because the evidence points to a contractor error.
You're not answering that question. You're not answering that question. What you're doing is deflecting. What you have to look at is, we don't have any evidence to why he would do this, so we're bringing up possibilities. But pay-to-play doesn't change the fact that it was a contractor error. The contractor error will remain the same, whether they paid to play or not, Mert. You just mentioned, why don't these companies who work for the government have to get charged or go to court when they have to do it all the time in the private sector? So you agree with me without even realizing it, because you brought that point up just a few moments ago.
Well, there needs to be more accountability, was my point. But there will be investigations. There usually are, right? So some congressional committee.
That's not the case in this.
Well, not yet.
It, so
we don't know if they dropped it. They dropped the criminal charges. We don't know about the underlying investigation.
Right. So now you're starting to go in the direction I was headed in, because you're starting to ask the right questions. Why isn't the company that did the work being investigated? And if you look, you don't even have to look deep. You can assume that there might be somebody they're trying to protect.
Well, I'm sure they're being looked at, because if they made an error, if it's a contractor error, and this is going to cost a pretty penny to repair, they're going to have to pay for it. It's not going to be done free, I would imagine.
Well, that doesn't make sense, because they rushed to charge this guy.
That's separate. The criminal charges has nothing to do with the contractor responsibility.
It's all linked into this together.
You can't link the two. We're talking about separate concepts here.
Well, wait a minute.
The bigger problem is the personality flaw, Alex. I think, and that's what you're hitting on the head. This refusal to accept the truth and to just call a spade is the problem. Why does it have to be some evil motive, somebody out there out to get Trump, when it's very simple? The contractor messed up, and the contractor should fix it, period. Now, to answer your question, Mert, I'm sorry, there were some photographs in the paper of the guy, the alleged Olympian, kneeling over the side of the pool, and it made it look like he was reaching into the side of the pool. It appeared to me like he was, using a blade of some sort. That was the photographs that were coming out. Perot's later debunked that because the kind of damage was more indicative of a bigger problem than some sort of knife stabbing of the bottom of the pool. But I think it's a personality flaw that we need to look at. And this
you're trying to do mental gymnastics here. You're making this way more difficult than it is.
No, I'm trying to keep it simple because I think it's a personality flaw. I think it's a personality flaw.
It's not a personality flaw. It's something that they don't want to be known because they haven't
that's
brought
just your
any
paranoia.
They haven't. I don't have to be paranoid about this. It's not going to affect me. They haven't brought any charges against any of the contractors. They've had plenty
what
of time
charges
to do
are they going to bring? This is civil. This may not be criminal. What are you talking about, Mert? You don't bring charges for charges' sake. If they made a mistake with the pool, they have to fix the pool.
That's just what they did. They just did that.
Okay, so there are no charges for that. They have to fix the pool.
They just tried to charge the guy, and
that's criminal because he was alleged to have committed damage, which was later debunked. That is a separate concept. You can't mix the two. You're mixing the two. It's wrong.
Listen, I haven't heard a civil case being thrown out there either. So you trying to clean this up. My point is still valid.
There's no case if the contractor fixes the problem. I don't understand.
Have you heard about the contractor coming in to fix the problem? You haven't heard about that.
I believe that's what's happening. I don't know precisely day to day what's going on.
I just was listening to them. They said they brought in somebody new.
Okay. The old contractor will be liable for the repair costs if they have to do that. That's certainly possible.
I think the other thing that Lucas is trying to say is, will the taxpayer be hit with this one way or the other? I think it's the other thing you're trying to get at, right, Lucas?
He didn't say that.
I don't think the taxpayer will ultimately hold the bag if it's a contractor error. The contractor error will be responsible. But with the bigger issue here is why an allegedly innocent man was charged with a crime, something that he didn't really do. And
you're asking a question.
And then you have a president doubling down on it, which to me reveals a major character flaw and goes and impacts his credibility. What happens when something bigger pops up? Then you're going to doubt his word. These kind of little things add up, is my point.
This is not a personality flaw. This is strategic because they're trying to cover something up. There's no reason for this to be a big story unless people start to investigate. Wait a minute, what's going on with this pool? Why is it not? Who did you get to do this work, and did other people get a chance to bid on this kind? Why did you go with this firm? That's what we're looking at here.
You know, we live in a country that put a man on the moon. We can deliver a package to your door in under 24 hours, but we can't keep paint on the bottom of a pool in the middle of Washington without turning it into a national security crisis. That should bother you, Mert. It bothers me, not because you love or hate the current president. It should bother you because it is a tell. It tells you how the system handles failure when the failure is visible and politically inconvenient. They would rather invent a scandal with a 350-foot knife than simply say the words, the work was rushed, the product failed, we own it, we're fixing it. And I think that's the problem. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of the game and the nonsense. But here's something that never tires me. You're listening to episode 110 of Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas Live. We're honored to have you along with us for the ride. This is Lucas Ferrara, and we're ever mindful that without you, we would have never made it this far. And we're grateful for your support. We've got some great guests in store for you today. Before we unleash them, let me introduce some of the players here at Shake It Off Live. You already heard from my co-host. No one messes with that man. Of course, I'm talking about the one and only man of the people, the Mertinator, Mert Roberts. Engineering and producing the show, none other than Alex Garrett. He's got a 5-star rated podcast called One Leg Up with Alex Garrett. Check it out. Who's working Master Control? Well, none other than Hermine Santos. Thank you, Hermine. Now we have some special guests in store for you. Just a little bit, we'll be joined by Dr. Alan Stokes. He's an author, storyteller, minister, draws on his education and life experience to integrate principles of psychological wellness and spiritual uprightness Kindness. And he has a new book, Continuing Covenant. We'll be talking about that. And later in the show, we sit down with Dr. Mark Evans. He's a composer, conductor, pianist, organist, and author, and founder of the Cultural Conservation Foundation. It's a jam-packed show. Don't you dare drift. Don't you dare blink. Shake It Off with Mert, Alex, and all of us here at AM 970 returns after these messages.
Over the last 30 years, Newman Ferrara, a New York City law firm, has evolved into a national practice focused on real estate, commercial, litigation, civil rights, class actions, and other complex litigation, representing many of the city's largest property owners, managing agents, and thousands of tenants. Newman Ferrara handles some of the nation's most significant class actions and civil rights matters. Newman Ferrara at 55 East 59th Street, New York City. Go online to newmanferrara.com. That's newmanferrara.com. Listen to the firm's name partner, Lucas Ferrara, every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Dottie Herman's longest-running real estate radio program, Eye on Real Estate, on AM 970. A real estate lawyer for 35 years, Lucas is a professor at New York Law School and is also a published author with books on real estate and New York's landlord-tenant law. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to hear Lucas's unique perspective and advice on Eye on Real Estate.
We can tell you about the incredible success we bring to local businesses, but it's better when it comes directly from our satisfied clients. Here's just one example.
After searching for a new vendor to handle my search marketing campaign, I contacted Salem Surround after seeing the great work they did for another restoration company in the different market. Their team of experts recommended a mix of multiple tactics designed to get my business the most quality leads at the lowest cost, making my marketing budget stretch further. In our first year partnering with Salem Surround, we recorded our best year to date, and I've told many people how blessed I was to find them. The representative answered the phone every time I called and quickly addressed any questions or concerns I had.
Let Salem Surround give you an absolutely free audit of your current marketing and show you what your competition is doing. Then, we come up with a personalized plan that's perfect for your needs. Google Salem Surround New York and let our marketing experts help you achieve real success. Remember to Google Salem Surround New York today.
Here are the official rules for AM 970 The Answer giveaways. Contestants are prohibited from winning more than once during any 6-month period, only one winner per household. Employees of Salem Media of New York LLC, affiliated companies, agents, and their immediate families are ineligible to win. When we give you the signal, call AM 970 for a chance to win. Winners are chosen at random and are responsible for taxes, if any. All federal, state, and local laws apply. All participants hold AM 970, its parent company, affiliates, and agents harmless. To obtain the names of winners, send an email request to contact@nycradio.com. Complete giveaway rules are available at the AM 970 studios and offices during regular business hours or online at am970theanswer.com.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams sale and get 30% off Duration, Superdeck, and Woodscapes products August 14th through the 24th. Whether you're refreshing your interior or exterior, we've got the colors to bring your vision to life. And with delivery, getting everything to your door is easier than ever. Shop online to have it delivered or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. Delivery available on qualifying orders.
Do you hear that? Asthma triggers are everywhere, from dust mites, pet dander, and pollen, to smog and smoke. An asthma attack can strike anywhere, anytime. Be prepared with quick-acting Primatene Mist. Clinically proven to open airways quickly. It's the #1 FDA-approved asthma inhaler available over the counter. Primatene Mist. Breathe easy again. Use as directed.
AM 970, The Answer. Welcome back to Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas, live on AM 970, The Answer.
Nice beat, Alex. What is the name of that one?
Very calming. It's called God by Audio Dollar.
How fitting, given our next guest. If you're looking for a powerful reminder that God's covenant still continues through every generation, and if you're searching for the practical ways to recognize His hand and the Holy Spirit's leading in ordinary life, then Dr. K. Alan Stokes is exactly the kind of guide you need. He's a gifted author, storyteller, and minister with a BS in psychology and master's in pastoral counseling from Oral Roberts University, plus a doctor of ministry from Liberty University. Dr. Stokes integrates psychological wellness with spiritual uprightness. He lives in North Carolina's Piedmont region with his wife Sheila, and is the author of Continuing Covenant, extending its faithfulness to 1,000 generations. The book blends real-life experiences, biblical insight, and companion podcast reflections to help readers see divine purpose revealed through everyday lives, strengthen prayer, and experience covenant relationship with God. Please welcome Dr. K. Alan Stokes to the program. Welcome, Dr. Stokes.
I am more than pleased to be on air with you today.
It is a pleasure and honor, and we're going to start, Doctor, with my esteemed colleague, the Honorable Mert Roberts. Go ahead, Mert.
Well, it's an honor to have you on the program, and I'd like to start here because you speak about the generations.
Yes.
What do you think? As we get further and further away from, Jesus being on earth, what do you think the mentality of Christians as we get further and further away from that day has been? Because, in my opinion, we don't have the same discipline to what the Bible says as even generations like my grandmother's. I think we're getting further and further away from following the rules, for lack of a better term, and we kind of make stuff up as we go along. So what is your view on all of that?
That's an excellent question, because as I continue in the process of getting this book written, I had to go through several instances of my perspective being challenged.
Right.
Now, when you saying that we're getting further and further away, I agree, but a lot of it, I would say most of it, depends on how much further our perspective has changed from what godly perspective should be. Does that make sense to you?
What does that mean? Explain that, because that's an interesting way to put that.
Yes. When I knew that I would write this book, I went to my mother's house one day. She called me, but as you'll see in my book, if you read it, it'll say, she said, "Kenneth Allen, come and sit down in this chair beside me." And anytime your mom calls you Kenneth Allen, or your whole name,
the whole name,
you might have something to deal with. So I went and sat down with her. Now, keep in mind, this is 2 years prior to her being diagnosed with Alzheimer's. She sat down, and for whatever reason, the Holy Spirit gave her this occasion to share my complete pre-birth story with me. She told me about how she had a stillbirth prior to me. How she never thought that she would have other kids. And then when she learned that she was expecting me, she said she gave me back to God.
Right.
All right. So as I'm listening to that, it's still all theoretical in my mind. It's just, I hear you. But as she continued to talk, I began to understand, wow, that's why this happened to me back in 1985. This is why that happened to me 20 years ago. This is why this happened 2 weeks ago. It began to make sense. What I mean by your perspective being challenged is that our perspective is what we use every day to make decisions, to live in our world, to place ourselves within that scope. And our perspective is the belief system that we've gained and we stand on. That's our world view.
how do we do that? Because I'm gonna give you a scenario. How it's become more difficult. Think about this. If I have a headache and I take some Tylenol, right?
Mm-hmm.
The headache is gone. Mm-hmm. I don't say, thank God the headache gone. You know, somebody might say that, but usually I say, I took the Tylenol and the headache went away. I don't even think about God making that possible. But
exactly
what I'm trying to say is technology, and, you know, I also often call it the electrification of everything. Everything's bright now. You can, you know, you know, the car is the reason why I got here instead of, you know, the Lord putting me in that position. So how do we deal with that? Because, you know, I'm giving the Tylenol the credit, or I'm giving I'm giving the chemo the credit instead of the Lord for getting through cancer or my headache, when we should be giving credit to the Lord. So is that an issue?
Of course, in this day and time where everything is at a fingertip, whether it's on a cell phone or a computer, if you have a question, you can say, hey, Siri, and she'll find that answer. If she can't find it, she said, do you want me to use Chat GPT? And she'll go there. Everything is at your whim. However, that is what I'm talking about when we're talking about perspective. However, it is God that says every step that a good man takes has been ordered by me.
Right.
Okay? If you find yourself in the muck and the mire up to your neck and you're a believer, you have to understand that he's with you right then. There's a reason you're there. That's what I mean about changing your perspective, having your perspective changed by the leading of the Holy Spirit. Once he enlightens you that, and you accept the fact that you are not your own, you are walking according to his will, you can be in the very shadow of death.
Okay, in a place like America where it's supposed to be separation of church and state, is that easy to do? Do you feel like is that still achievable? Because we don't want to say thank God that the economy, we don't want to give God the credit for the booming economy and you having a bunch of money. We want to say, you know, the great business minds made that possible, because they want to keep that separation. So is it possible to get back to that?
Well, yes, it is. And as you spoke that word, it made sense that a lot of people have difficulties with it, because a lot of people are trying to walk both lines. I would say it that way. I want the world to know that I am a believer, I'm a Christian, but I also need the world to agree with it. Or I also need the world to associate with it. What I'm trying to get over in this book, get across in this book, is the personal relationship with Christ Jesus. That's the one that nobody knows about but you and your Lord.
You know what? That's an interesting distinction you make, because I wasn't even thinking about the personal one. I'm thinking more of as a body, but you're talking about a personal where you don't have to let anybody know. Yeah, go ahead.
That's exactly right. It has to be a personal relationship, because he made you specifically, differently, and miraculously different from anybody else on this earth. He gave you a purpose when you were born. Now, if we as people continue to need to assimilate to a group, that group may not sustain you in what you feel God has called you to do, but he will. He will. As a matter of fact, when the book was written and published, and I had my, my publication party and all that, from that book sprang up the idea of writing a second book called Who Pastors the Pastor?
Right.
Because
that's a good question.
We have. Well, it's the question that sent me through school.
Right.
Well, Doctor, we're going to answer that question when we come back from the commercial break. We have to take a quick commercial break. Dr. Stokes joins us again to go deeper into continuing covenant. It's a powerful call to recognize God's ongoing covenant work, strengthen prayer, and live out divine purpose in everyday life. For more information about Dr. Stokes and his work, you can find Continuing Covenant on Amazon and wherever books are sold, and that's including his audiobook. We also have the links posted on our website, shakeitofflive.com. When he comes back, expect the conversation to go deeper, the insights to get more practical, and the invitation to walk in covenant relationship with God to get a whole lot clearer.
I'm not one to say I told you so, but I switched to Pure Talk over a year ago, and ever since, I've been telling people there's no better wireless company out there. Well, a few months ago, a massive survey was conducted. 123,000 people were asked to rate their wireless carrier in 4 categories: coverage, support, data, and overall value. Well, the results are in. Guess which wireless company was the only wireless company to get 5 stars in every category? Yeah, Pure Talk. 5 stars, every category. To celebrate, Pure Talk is offering the first 3 months of any plan for just $15 a month, including their top-tier unlimited plan. No contract, no commitment, just a very inexpensive way to test drive the only American wireless company with 5 stars in every category. Just dial pound 250, say micro, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service will take it from there. Again, pound 250 micro. And yes, I told you so.
Over the last 30 years, Newman Ferrara, a New York City law firm, has evolved into a national practice focused on real estate, commercial, litigation, civil rights, class actions, and other complex litigation, representing many of the city's largest property owners, managing agents, and thousands of tenants. Newman Ferrara handles some of the nation's most significant class actions and civil rights matters. Newman Ferrara at 55 East 59th Street, New York City. Go online to NewmanFerrara.com. That's NewmanFerrara.com. Listen to the firm's name partner, Lucas Ferrara, every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Dottie Herman's longest-running real estate radio program, Eye on Real Estate, on AM 970. A real estate lawyer for 35 years, Lucas is a professor at New York Law School and is also a published author with books on real estate and New York's landlord-tenant law. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to hear Lucas's unique perspective and advice on Eye on Real Estate.
Foundations of Freedom, a look at America's founding principles and the leaders who shaped our nation.
In 1783, the Revolutionary War was nearly over, but America's future remained uncertain. Officers in the Continental Army were angry. Congress had failed to provide promised pay, and some considered using the Army's power to force the government's hand. George Washington understood their frustration, but he also knew the liberty they had fought to win could be destroyed by the very army that secured it. Washington confronted his officers and urged them to choose honor, patience, and loyalty to the Republic over rebellion. He could have used their anger to increase his own power. Instead, he used his influence to restrain it. Power asks what it can take. Character asks what duty requires. Washington's lesson still stands. Freedom survives when leaders place principle above ambition and remain faithful to God, country, and the people they serve.
Born on America's darkest day of September 11th, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been helping America's heroes ever since. Heroes like NYPD officer Pedro Garcia, a 25-year veteran who answered the call in the aftermath of 9/11. Pedro spent many days in the search and recovery efforts at Ground Zero. He bravely battled a 9/11-related illness that ultimately took his life. He is survived by his loving wife, Yvonne, and their children, who remember him as a man who cared deeply for others and always had a story to tell. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation honored Pedro by paying off his family's mortgage through their Fallen First Responder Home program. Please help more families like the Garcia family. Your donation today brings hope and stability to those who gave everything in service to our communities and our country. Donate $11 a month. Go to T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
Welcome back to Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas, live on AM 970, The Answer.
We are back with Dr. K. Alan Stokes. He's an author, a storyteller, a minister, and author of Continuing Covenant, Extending His Faithfulness to 1,000 Generations. With a foundation in psychology, pastoral counseling, and a doctor of ministry, he brings both practical insight and spiritual depth for real life. Continuing Covenant is available on Amazon and wherever books are sold. And of course, we'll have the links posted on our website, shakeitofflive.com. Now, Dr. Stokes, let's pick up where we left off. Before the book, you were mentioning something about your new book that you're working on, Pass the Pastor. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes. When I finally accepted his call, I was pretty much just satisfied with, okay, my life is going to change in that way, but, I'm 55 years old at that time, and I'm just going to live my life and do well. I'm married. Well, he asked me to give him my life afresh so that he can make an example of me. Now, you have to understand that my mother gave me to him and says, use him that the whole world will know that you are God and you are real. At 55, he says, give me your life and I will make an example of you. I didn't put those things together at first. But as I was sitting one day, I had this unction to go to school at 55 years old. That was like that's the golden years of my life. My wife and I, we're going to go to Hawaii. We're not going to do anything but just please ourselves, and that's what's going to happen. Well, I enrolled as a college freshman at 55.
Wow.
All right?
Wow.
I stayed in school for 10 solid years till I achieved my doctorate. I'm saying all that to say this. Before I went in, before I admitted to the school, which was Liberty, a question came to my mind: who pastors the pastor? Every paper, that it was so deeply implanted that every paper I wrote from undergrad to graduate school was dealing with the pastorate and serving them, to get them to understand that they are not just pastors. They're not called just as leaders. They're not just shepherds. But they've never been not called to be God's sheep as well. So they have to live a dual existence.
Right.
They are God's shepherd, but they are also his sheep. But who pastors the pastor in his sheep hood? That's the best way I know how to say it. Who's the one who shepherds him in that state?
Well, doesn't that become difficult, because it's almost like who kings the king? Because the people are looking at you like you're supposed to be the end all be all. Mm-hmm. Besides God, of course, but even some of the people might look at you as God, and that's something you have to. Yeah, you have to be mindful of that. So that is a difficult position to be in, where you're so admired or looked up to, and you might not feel the need to venture out and get some guidance, because the people might be filling up your cup, filling up your ego, and saying, hey, you can do no wrong. So that's a good question. Yeah. Who pastors the pastor?
What you have just said, therein lies my calling.
Right.
How do I, as a person, one person, get to the base of that? I have to, once again, surrender, and allow him to show me. Now, what you just described, though, as when people begin to see the pastor as a demagogue, or whatever they call them, that's called the pedestal paradigm. That's just say, for instance, you're called to be a pastor in your local community. Unbeknownst to you, the people have begun to look at you more than human. They treat you with much favor. You are given the gift of eloquent speech, So they just see you as everything that you say is God spoken. And then they create this platform of pride in you that you climb aboard because it feels good. Hey, it does feel good.
In your honest opinion,
Yes.
do you feel like most pastors want to be pastors?
I can't answer that question, but in my honest opinion, I'm not going to answer that question. In my honest opinion, there are a number of pastors, I believe, that are pastoring churches and were not called to do so.
Ooh, that's an interesting point. So what are you saying, that they have motives that are not good, or is it okay? Is it acceptable to not be called?
No, it's not the motive. Some people, and I've run into several people that says, my uncle was a pastor, my dad was a pastor, so I'm naturally going to be a pastor. And I've had some people say, that guy's just standing up there talking. I can do that.
Right.
Okay? I have that gift of gab, and the church is the ultimate goal for some people to just say, I can talk, and I'm get paid to talk, and it's not that my motives are bad, but God didn't call me to this. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah,
when
definitely.
When God calls you, He anoints you. You have a pastor's heart. You're not thinking about money per se all the time. You're thinking about pleasing Him. You're walking in covenant with your Maker. And that's why this book is so important, because now it breaks down the idea of religion or spirituality into a personal, bite-sized piece of literature for everyone that reads it. You can't just run through that book and say, okay, I read the whole thing. You read chapter 1, there's questions at the end of chapter 1, probing questions to ask you what your calling is, how you feel about your relationship with Christ. Do you understand covenant? Do you understand that the covenant that you may be under could have been the covenant that your grandmother, great-great-grandmother prayed over their offspring, and you're one of them? See, God pursues us.
So you think you think your mother was able to? What do you think it is about your pre-existence that God said you're going to be somebody who's a pastor? Do you have any indicators of what that is? Because
okay, I think you asked me two questions, right? Let me see if I can get them. Let me see. My mother was a believer, and she said that she went before the Lord in fervent prayer. Mm-hmm. Now I look it all up and says what it says. It said the fervent prayer of the righteous availeth much. That's what he says. So it will do that which is asked of them if you believe it when you ask it. I think my mother earnestly gave me back to the Lord. I believe God has pursued me my whole life.
Right.
My whole life. Was I always perfect? Of course not. Oh, you can look at my history and see that. I've been married more than once. I failed at that several times. You know what I mean? No, I was not. I was not holy. I didn't live that way, but He pursued me because His promises, He is bound by those things. He's bound by His word.
So that answers the question. So you're saying that because your mother made a commitment, thank you for giving me my son. Now I'm giving him back to you, like you said earlier.
Yes.
But you had to live up to that, correct? Because you could have fought that.
No, I did. I did not know about that. I did not know about that until she told me. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. When she told me, I was standing one day about to go get my doctorate. I was standing at the base of some steps, and my mind went back to what she had told me 2 years ago. And I'm like, wow, that's why these things are happening. Now, if she had told me this and made me to understand this when I was 8 or 10 years old, I'd have tried my best to live up to it.
Right.
And would have failed. Which is another point that I have in that book. When God has called you, when God has given you something in your life to do, you are not ever supposed to try to own it. When you try
Wait a
to
minute.
take on. Okay.
When did you become a pastor?
Look, man. When I said yes, God can do whatever He wants to do on a time limit that is not ours. He pursues.
But I'm asking an age. Like I can understand. Like, what age were you when you became a pastor?
I would say I was 54.
Oh, okay. So I see what you're saying. So this story is even more remarkable because you had been living life up to this point, and then this sudden calling, and now you have an explanation.
I said I was good. I'm good to go. I don't cheat nobody. I don't hurt anybody. I believe in God, but I ain't trying to do, you know how we do?
Right.
I said ain't because I'm from North Carolina, but I'm saying.
I'm from Texas. I get it. I understand it.
Yeah, man, I was not a pretender. I never did that. But when He called me and had me to understand what I was pursuing, I began to understand I wasn't pursuing it. He was pursuing me.
Hey, Doc, we only have a few minutes before we have to end the segment. But for people who feel exhausted by the state of the world right now or their own inner struggles, why should they pick up Continuing Covenant right now? How will your book help them?
My book is not a storybook. It is I would say, a guide for you to see how God has worked in one man's life, yet they don't see it as one man's life. They take and apply it to their own. How can God work in my life? What is it that He's called me to do? That's the main thing. What has He called me to do? How can I find that out? And for those that are weary and tired of the status quo, but then if you find out what your purpose is, that changes your perspective, that gives you new life, which God went to the cross and died for. That's the new covenant. And He said, I will walk you from this point to heaven and never leave you, never forsake you, and give you those things that I have promised you well before you were born.
What is one insight or lesson from your book that you hope every reader carries long after they finish it?
Yes. I'm going to go back to that word, perspective. We have everything that we do is based on our view of our world. Learn to gain a more godly perspective, to see the world as He wants us to see it. Not from religiosity, but from an intimate, personal relationship with Him.
And how do we start that relationship, Doc? What if I'm lost?
Now, okay, that's a good question. Watch this. Lord, I don't even know how to begin. But you know what? There's something in me that's hungry to know. Show me the way. That's it.
It's that simple.
Just as you are. Just as you are. Just as you are. Lord, when I pick it up and try to own it, show me how to put it back down. Help me to see what you're trying to show me. If I go the wrong way, turn me around. Surrender. That's it, brother. It is not that hard.
Doctor, thank you so much for joining us. That was truly inspirational. Would you believe we've run out of time? For more information about Dr. Stokes and his work, you can find Continuing Covenant, Extending His Faithfulness to 1,000 Generations on Amazon and wherever books are sold. You'll also find his audiobook there. We'll also have links posted on our website, shakeitofflive.com. Doc, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you.
We hope you had an enjoyable time. Next up, Dr. Mark Evans. He's a composer, conductor, pianist, organist, author, and founder of Cultural Conservation Foundation. And he's got an interesting perspective about preserving our culture. So it's important that you come back after the news at the top of the hour, suffer through a few commercial messages. But once it's all done, Mert, Alex, and I, along with the rest of the AM 970 team, will be waiting right here for you. We know you want it. We know you want to shake it off with us. We know you do. So please come back, hour 2. Shake it off with Mert and Lucas Live. Lots more controversy, and maybe, just maybe, some answers await.
The preceding hour of programming, sponsored by Shake It Off Live, LLC.
Life can be messy, but you don't have to figure it out alone.
Hey, it's the Luskos.
Join pastors and best-selling authors Levi and Jenny Lusko on Hey, It's the Luskos for honest conversations about faith, marriage, family, grief, ministry, and all the unexpected moments in between. You'll laugh, you'll be encouraged, and you'll be reminded that God is faithful through every season.
It will always come back to Jesus in the end.
That's right. Tune in to Hey, It's the Luskos with Levi and Jenny Lusko. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.